Hi everyone, this is Tonya Gibbs, and today I want to share with you a mixed media tag tutorial. This is an Yvonne Blair Art Girls project. To color my project today, I'm going to use the Lindy Stamp Gang Lemar Weber Designs Neon Graffiti Flat Fabios. From the collection, I'm going to use the Blazing Black, Poppin' Pink, Urban Amethyst, and Sidewalk Chalk. If you're not familiar with Flat Fabios, they are vibrant pigment sprays with no shimmer. Today's tag is going to feature Yvonne Blair Designs stamp. This is the Star Shine stamp. It says stars can't shine without darkness, and it can be purchased from Impression Obsession or your local retailers. So I will include a blog post where you can get information on how to purchase that in the description box down below. My tag was cut from the Tim Holtz book plate die from Sizzix, and it's cut on manila cardstock, and it's also cut with chipboard and mounted to chipboard. And then it's unprepped at this point. So I'm adding my sprays. At the upper top, I'm adding Poppin' Pink, and then in the bottom, I'm adding the Blazing Black. And then across diagonally center, I'm adding Sidewalk Chalk, and then on top of that, the Urban Amethyst. And then I went back and repeated until I had the right amount of color. And I love the richness of this tone. It gives a really nice gradient. I just absolutely love it. I love that the black also has a navy bluish tone to it. So to mop up all this overspray, I had these tubes of flowers from Prima in my stash that I've had forever, and they don't match. So to get them to match my project, I've decided to mop up this overspray. And they're now going to get used. And as you can see, they're dated and they're old, but I use tags as an opportunity to use up some of these older products. I use these tags as ATCs, and I share them with other friends, and I also have them hanging around my room. It's inspiration because they always have quotes on them that inspire me, and it's a fabulous way to use up products that you've been hoarding for quite a while. So as you can see, they really start to look like they belong together by adding this little bit of spray to them, even though they started out having a different tone to them altogether. So once I have them all heat set, and yes, I'm going to chase them around my table for a little while, I'm going to set them to the side. And now I'm pulling out some matte medium and putting it on my desk. I don't want to contaminate the jar, so putting a little bit on my desk will keep me from adding purple to my jar. I do want to put a nice coat over the top of my tag because the Lindy Stamp Gang is a water-based pigment, so as you continue to add things to it, or water or whatever, it will continue to bleed. So I do want to set it so that I don't move color again. Now I'm taking the Sidewalk Chalk and I'm just adding some splats around into that matte medium, and that's going to kind of help set that into that as well. And keep that from moving around. I really love this tag. I love the background. It gives it a lot of depth and richness, and adding this matte medium over the top really brought those pigments to life. I reached into the hoard vault and I found these Say It and pearls from Prima. I have like boxes of these, so I wanted to use these up. And to me, I feel like these swirls represent the chaos that comes when you're in a dark place in your mind. You know, you have all of these things going on in your head and you just don't seem to be able to break free. So I wanted these swirls on the card now, or on the tag. Now notice that I'm placing them towards the back and the bottom because I'm going to bury that chaos towards the bottom. I'm also using matte medium on the base of my tag. They are sticky, but when I live here in Florida, the humidity tends to peel this adhesive up over time. So adding the matte medium to the base will help them to stay down on the tag and keep them from lifting up. I'm going to just trim the excess off the side of the tag so that the overflow isn't there. And they're beautiful, and they sort of give a little bit of texture there in the background, and I love the way they look. So they're going to give me a nice vine presence for my flowers to sit on. So, and again, when I build these tags, I do like to have some symbolism here. I like to tell a story. It's like an ATC for me. So when I take something like the sentiment, stars can't shine without darkness, I like to go into my stash and make my embellishments sort of tell the story of what this sentiment is about. So here I'm adding matte medium to adhere my flowers. You will see me come back and add some hot glue as well. The hot glue is a temporary fix. The matte medium will hold it for life. So that's what you see me doing. I find that hot glue, while it will hold it down for a little bit over time, the hot glue lifts, especially in high humid areas. So it will hold it for a little while, but not forever. Now you can see how my flowers really start taking shape, and I'm really loving the rich tones of this tag and all of these rich colors, and you can still see the pinks showing through. So for my shine part of my scent, I've gone into my hoard vault once more, and I've pulled out a Heidi Swap star. These are from, I think, her Color Shine collection, and I'm adding some Tombow mono adhesive to these stars. And the Tombow adhesive is a two-way glue, so I'm going to let it air dry, and then it becomes super sticky, and you'll see why in just a minute. So I had to do that step and then let it air dry. Now I'm moving on to my sentiment. I'm using an embossing buddy because I don't want any stray little pieces of embossing powder. I'm going to emboss that out onto a piece of black cardstock, and then I am using a white embossing powder. It's going to give it a really nice chalkboard look to it, and it's going to really make my sentiment pop against all these rich dark tones. So I'm just going to funnel that back into the jar and then use my heat gun to set that. So now I'm reaching over to my stars. They've had a chance to dry, and I've pulled out a piece of gold foil, and I am just rubbing that right onto the tag, and it's very tattered and imperfect. That's kind of what I'm going for here. And the beauty of this technique is that you just go get another piece of foil and just continue to burnish until it's completely full. So once I get both my stars covered with the gold foil completely, and it did take some time to get that done, I found these little buttons in my stash that had the stars on them as well, but I only had two, and I decided to use them in the two bottom flower centers, and then in the one at the top, since I was going to cover it up anyway, I just found a flat button that I could place my sentiment on, and it acts as a pop dot. So I'm going to add some hot glue to that and then go ahead and place that down. Now I'm not so worried about the hot glue not sticking here because I am sticking it to paper, but I'm also going to be adding embellishments all around, and by the time I'm done, there's going to be so much matte medium and other things around this that it will stick. For my next set of embellishments, I have these Marion Smith flowers that I've had for a while, and I am going to use some black paint and paint those up. These are from her Junk and Gem collection, and I'm just adding a lot of paint there on my palette and then using a cosmetic sponge to paint those. And I find that I use a lot of black acrylic paint as well as a lot of white acrylic paint, so I just put them in these little Wilton squeeze bottles, and I have a little red cap that goes on top of the squeeze bottles on my desk so that it keeps them from drying out. And that's just another little helpful tip for you guys. I just cut those in half, and I'm going to spread those out around my sentiment. You can still see a little bit of the gold, but I think these kind of symbolize, they kind of have that star feel to them as well. So they sort of symbolize how you feel when you're in that darkness and you just sort of feel smothered and it's hard to shine. It's just really hard to shine. I liked how they had the little star points on them, and they're really kind of flower shaped, but they still look like stars. So I wanted to add those to this. I like to include different textures on my tags as well, so you'll see me use fabric, as in the flowers have a fabric texture, and then lots of metal and plastic from the buttons. as well as paper, and then you'll also see the metal from the foiling. So now, this is one of the things I've been doing a lot lately. I'm taking these little seed beads from Prima. This color is called black, but they have an iridescence to them. They're sort of a purpley blue. I'm just going to add a little bit of glossy accents to this and swirl this around and then paint these into some of the negative spaces around my tag. So I'm going to think of these little seed beads as pollination. So when you're in the darkness, these are your mood and how it affects the people around you. Are you pollinating them with positive energy or negative energy? Are the people around you filling you with the negative energy or the positive energy? So sometimes maybe our darkness is created by others, or perhaps we're spreading our darkness to someone else. Or I know that's getting a little philosophical, but I've noticed that sometimes in my darkest times, I found the most joy coming out of that darkness when I realized that perhaps it was my mood that was keeping me in that darkness. So if you can find the positive in something, and you can really say to yourself, there's a reason I'm going through what I'm going through, and if I can find that positive of there's a lesson in this I need to learn, and when I'm reach the other side, I will be a better person for it. It seems to help me get to the other side. So that light seems to always seem to resonate and find its way through all of that darkness. So I'm going to carry on with this project now. And with that, thinking about that, what I did add to this tag that you're not seeing me do is I also went into my embellishment clusters and found a light bulb charm as well as a gear charm. You'll see it in the final photos, and those kind of symbolize for me the light bulb is the idea, or the light when the light finally strikes and we get out of the darkness. So now I've pulled out some seam binding to tie off at the top of my tag here. And I've also set an eyelet in the top. I'm not sure if I showed that in video or not, but and then I've also, the gear I feel like symbolizes the work that has to happen to get out of that darkness, So notice that my swirls are the chaos and they're down in the bottom. The star is prominent at the top because the light is truly where we're headed, and the positive of this entire mission here. So I have my tag, I have it all finished up here. This is the final touches of adding a little bit of light to this darkness down here at the bottom. This is the precious metal color from Viva. This is the gold, and I've added a little to my palette, and I'm just going to paint this around and grab up some of these high points on these seed beads down at the bottom, as well as painting it onto some of my flowers, because the light needs to hit all of the darkness. And truly, if we just can see through all of the negativity and all of the things that are hitting us at the moment that just seem to weigh us down, and find that little bit of light, that little bit of positive, and hang on to it, it will drag us right through all of that darkness and right into the light. I hope you've enjoyed this production today, and that I've given you some things to think about as far as how to destash your desk and some ways to get out of that darkness if you're going through it. So thank you so much for hanging out with me today. Don't forget, a link is down below in the description box on how to find the stamp that we used today, as well as photos of this project. If you enjoyed this, please don't forget to give me a thumbs up and leave me a comment and share this with a friend.